All right, let me get my...
We are on the 60 freeway. 60 freeway in, let's call this Ontario. Hey, Christy, we're all set. Yep. Hey there, David, a dangerous driver behind the wheel of that black pickup truck right there. We can confirm there is also a passenger in that passenger seat. That pickup truck doing about 90 miles per hour, 80 to 90 for the better part of the last hour or so. That is Riverside County Sheriff's Office in pursuit. This pursuit took them all the way down into San Diego County before he turned around on the 215 and headed back up into the Riverside County area, eventually ending up on the 60 freeway, and now we find ourselves westbound heading towards LA here in the city of Ontario. There are a large number of law enforcement officers in pursuit of this vehicle. There's one back there, and then about a mile back or less, there's about another dozen or so, and they have lit him up. He's refusing to pull over. Again, as you mentioned, David, suspected of possibly being involved in a murder and assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer. Again, these are alleged crimes. We don't have much more in terms of specifics, but apparently a very dangerous driver behind the wheel here. And just in the last few seconds before you came to us, the driving, weaving through these cars showed very, very ominous signs here. Again, there was also a report that he may have actually slammed into a deputy earlier on in this pursuit. So a dangerous driver behind the wheel of that black pickup truck, still working to get some more details, but refusing to pull over. Now all the way on the left, he's committed to the 60 freeway in that HOV lane and slowing down just a little bit as he hits a little more traffic coming up on the Chino Hills area, but most of the traffic is actually going in the opposite direction. If he continues westbound on the 60 freeway, I don't see too much in his way, David. Yeah, that's the thing. As I look off to the nose here, we really have very little in his way. If he was going the opposite direction, you could see it's basically bumper-to-bumper traffic, but there is basically all lanes. He's got this freeway almost to himself, but just moderate traffic at best. And you're right to point out there are multiple agencies in pursuit here. So it's Riverside County Sheriff's Office in addition to California Highway Patrol and perhaps others, but those two at the very least. And as you mentioned, that is a very heavy-duty pickup truck. It's a Toyota pickup truck, top-heavy for sure, and certainly could do damage in the event that he decided to continue his bumper car tactics, which he did earlier on in this pursuit. We don't know how many deputies were struck, but he did use this truck to try and slam into deputies much earlier on. Again, this pursuit already over an hour in length, as they have been trying to get him to pull over, but he is refusing to do so. Yeah, extended cab with tinted windows. There certainly could be more, and you're right. We don't know whether that passenger is a willing participant here or whether she is a victim of some sort. Again, lots of unknowns. I know our assignment desk is working to gather more details, but the driver certainly driving very dangerously, crossing over the double white lines, I should say, getting back into the main lanes of the 60 freeway. Perhaps somebody up ahead of him here and maybe showing signs of looking for an exit ramp. In fact, that might very well be what he's doing here as he heads up towards the in Gabriel Valley here. No, committed to the 60 freeway still, but still now over to the right lane. It looks like a female. I don't think we can confirm that just yet. A little bit tough to tell. If we go ahead and punch in our digital extreme vision, you could look. He looks like he's got a hand out the window, making a gesture at officers coming up his left side there. So the driver waving at somebody behind him there, pointing forward, some kind of a gesture there, and it's just hard to tell. I think that was a female in the passenger seat, just a little bit tough to tell from this angle. Something came flying out there just then. I think he just threw something out the window over the Gore Point, was showing signs of exiting back over the Gore Point, back onto the 60 freeway after apparently tossing something out the window. I couldn't tell what it was, but it certainly looked like something came flying out of that driver's side window. Just passing the 71. Yeah, they are in pursuit with CHP. CHP calling the shots. There is an aircraft overhead as well. We're heading into the Diamond Bar area now. And again, with those hand gestures, also worth pointing out, for some reason, he's got the windshield wipers on as well. They appear to be running intermittently there, but they are on. And he is still gesturing, I'm guessing, gesturing at the officers behind him. Of course, there's no way to tell. But he now has two hands out. Yeah, two hands out of the driver's side window. Very dangerous, even with lane keeping. That is still extremely dangerous. He's apparently playing games with these officers, and it does look like potentially a female in that passenger seat. Very, very dangerous situation here. Look at this, crossing over the lines and still refusing to pull over. Yeah. Yeah, we haven't gotten a clear view in that driver's seat yet. We've just come around to the driver's side, and we're going to get a better view if we can get up ahead of him a little bit. But it does look like it's a male driver with a baseball cap, and he is exiting the freeway. He's getting off at the 57, it looks like, and he will have the opportunity. Is this the northbound or the southbound? Looks like he may be heading northbound on the 57 freeway. We'll see. No, he's coming up on a light. Coming up on a light, that is going to be Diamond Bar Boulevard, making a northbound turn off of the 60 freeway onto Diamond Bar Boulevard, and now this could get much more dangerous when you take into consideration the charges here and the driving that we've witnessed. Now we see this pursuit for the first time off of the freeway on surface streets. Still very little traffic, as you can see here, but going right through, it looks like a red light, making a U-turn at the red light around that left turn lane, and now you see the number of officers that are making that U-turn with them. Again, several agencies in pursuit here. Riverside County still in pursuit. I believe CHP is the one calling the shots, and you can see he's slowing down just a little bit, but still blowing through red lights, still near the 60 and Diamond Bar Boulevard, and it looks like he's going to pass the 60 freeway. There it is. Under the freeway and onto the entrance ramp. So now heading back in the opposite direction, getting back on the 60 freeway, this time on the eastbound side. Now, you guys know what the eastbound side of this freeway looks like. He may not be aware of the traffic that he's about to encounter here. And if history is any indication, I suspect he will take his first available exit, because right now the only pavement he has to work with is that right shoulder. He's either going to ride that right shoulder until he can't anymore, or eventually just get off the freeway altogether, because the rest of those lanes are basically bumper to bumper. Well, it might be wishful thinking on my part, but hopefully that debris and the width of that shoulder will maybe slow him down even slightly, just to give law enforcement enough time to catch up with him. They're doing their best to safely follow him back on the freeway. You saw the number of units that were pursuing him, and now he is getting into the main lanes here. Look at this, crossing all the way over to the HOV lane. This is going to put him in a very tough spot traffic-wise. There is a ton of traffic all around him, and that is going to put every motorist that you see in this camera shot in danger. You can see the dangerous driving, weaving in front of everybody without any turn signals and back on the shoulder. There was just too much congestion, and I suspect any minute we will see him exit this freeway. Very unlikely that he's going to give it up at this point, especially if he still has gas in the tank here. And it's probably, although this is a guess on my part, I think it's safe to say he's probably not familiar with this particular area where he's hitting all of this traffic, considering that this started in Riverside County. He went all the way down to the San Diego County line and then back up to Riverside. I'm venturing here to say that he's probably not local here in Diamond Bar, but who knows, right? In any event, you can see he's still hugging that shoulder with that SUV right behind him, black and white, and then another unmarked, that looks like a Riverside County Sheriff's Office vehicle right behind that CHP unit. They have their lights and sirens on, code 3, and he had an opportunity to get off the freeway, had a clear opportunity to get off the freeway, but he just wants to get back into more familiar territory. Again, just a guess on my part, but it certainly appears to be the case, because he is not really showing signs of getting off. He's just trying to weave through the traffic here, but little did he realize when he got off the 60 and got onto the eastbound side, it is rush hour on a Tuesday afternoon, and you can see everybody trying to get home. All of these innocent motorists with a murder suspect fleeing right past them, driving very dangerously, and at this point, it's anybody's guess as to how this pursuit is going to end. These law enforcement officers are going to be faced with some really serious split-second decisions when this pursuit comes to an end. Hopefully, we can only hope that the driver, and we know that he apparently tossed something out the window. Whether they're trying to track down that evidence, I don't know, but you can see they have officers now on the shoulder with them, also on the HOV lane as well. If he does get it back into the main, very dangerous situation, a dangerous driver behind the wheel with very, very serious crime stacking up. Getting off. Something came out the window, and it looks like he has taken service road off of the 60 freeway at the 71. That's the 71 interchange here, and he might be coming up on a light in the next few seconds. I can't tell what light that is. It looks like it's Gary Avenue. So he took the Gary Avenue exit and is now going north on Gary Avenue under the freeway, and now northbound on surface streets once again. This is the second time we've seen him do this. The last time he just didn't feel comfortable and ended up turning around, getting back on the freeway. But with all of that traffic, I think he just decided he just better get off as soon as he can. And now we find ourselves in the Pomona area, heading into Pomona via Gary Avenue, a very busy thoroughfare on a Tuesday afternoon. Not seeing a whole lot of traffic on the northbound side. You can see a little more traffic on the southbound side, but as he gets further up along Gary Avenue, you're going to see more shopping and restaurants and a much more dangerous situation as this has now ventured onto surface streets, guys. Can you confirm the agency of that SUV? Sorry, Dave. I actually have a feeling, a gut check here. I think that might be Riverside, the unit in front of him. The unit in front of him, the black and white right there, that is Riverside. That's Riverside County Sheriff. That is not a CHP vehicle. So CHP has been standing back, and this is now entirely under the authority of the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. The reason that's important is because the tactics that are going to come into play are very, very different than if we were in L.A. County, for example, or if it was L.A. County, I should say, chasing, or even CHP. Riverside County has their own unique tactics. In a situation like this, it's really anybody's guess how they decide to bring this to an end, but a very aggressive situation here with a number of units right behind them. I mean, I'm talking about 8 to 10 units at least out of Riverside County that have followed this suspect all the way over here into Pomona, and their tactics are different. It's a less conservative agency, and we will have to see if they give the go-ahead for something like a pit maneuver, which we would normally see reserved for a more manageable vehicle. In a situation like this, you have that large pickup truck. Can they do it safely? That's one question. They have an SUV behind them. Can they disable that vehicle with a pickup truck if he's doing about 30 or 40 miles per hour? That may be a yes if they find themselves in an area where there's no other pedestrians or car traffic. It's something that would be unorthodox, but certainly in a situation like this, the size of the vehicle does come into play, but maybe it's worth it to go ahead and give the go-ahead for that pit maneuver. All depends on the training of the officers involved in the pursuit. So you have a primary Riverside officer, a secondary officer, that's the unmarked truck behind him, and then you have a supervisor calling the shots from behind, and he is the one that's going to give the go-ahead at some point, or the watch commander, to give the go-ahead for something like a pit maneuver. Doesn't look like they're setting up for a spike strip. Certainly he's not established any kind of a pattern, and they had an opportunity, I think, earlier on to try a spike strip on the freeway, but in any event, that has not been attempted thus far. You can clearly see, though, at this hour, Gary Avenue appears pretty wide open for him. He's blowing through red lights. You see that? Every single one blowing right through him. Very difficult to tell. The first time I saw him throw something out the window, it looked like paper. Maybe it was money, maybe it was something else, but it looked like a bunch of paper flying out the first time I saw debris coming out of that window, and then we saw it again as he was exiting the freeway. Hard to tell here, but look at him picking up speed here. Picking up speed, now going the wrong way. Going the wrong way on Gary Avenue, getting back on the correct lanes, on the correct side, but picking up a lot of speed in an area that can't be more than 40 mile per hour speed limit. Now making a right turn, going eastbound on Holt Avenue, and again, he's doing about 65 miles per hour in an oversized pickup truck that is now going to become a missile. God forbid it strikes anybody in his way, and he has not slowed down for hardly any of these intersections, not even braking as he approaches them, just goes right through them, right around anybody in his way. If there's cross traffic at a red light, it's all over. Look at that. Yeah, I mean, especially a driver with, this kind of a rap sheet and a laundry list of charges stacking up here, you would much rather see this on the freeway, as we often say in situations like this. But to see him end up in an urban setting like this on surface streets here in downtown Pomona, now making another right turn into a more residential neighborhood, a right turn on Reservoir, now a left into a suburban neighborhood here along Hawthorne Place. Again, a very residential street. In this case, still refusing to pull over here, but at least he's slowing down. It looks like there's some speed bumps on Hawthorne Place, and now just being forced with the decision to head back up towards that main avenue there. So northbound Lorraine Avenue, it'll put him back on Holt, and it looks like you saw that. Look at those folks on the corner there. Almost looks like they have either been following this pursuit online or who knows what. But anyways, he's slowing down, almost coming to a stop for the first time. Very random. Stopping in the middle of the street there temporarily and now continuing once again there. I wonder what those two other folks on the corner were up to, whether they were following this or whether they know the suspect. Maybe we may be in more familiar territory. We don't know. But you can see that airship overhead calling out the shots, and he's now continuing westbound on Holt Avenue. Yeah, that struck me as very odd that they apparently saw him turn off of Holt Avenue and they ran down the block and almost intercepted him as he was coming up Lorraine. So very, very weird. Who knows who they are or what they're up to, but now he is basically circling this residential neighborhood on the north side of Holt, and if he establishes a pattern, maybe we'll find ourselves with another opportunity to see them set up for a spike strip. But so far, he's just kind of weaving his way through, zigzagging through this neighborhood. He has done a circle or two, but you can see he's now in a back alleyway. Doesn't look like he really knows where he's going or how he wants to end this. Perhaps looking for a spot to dump the vehicle and maybe try to run and hide out somewhere. But, of course, the stakes are very high, especially when you're talking about a residential neighborhood like this. All right. Going into oncoming lanes of traffic, making a left turn going eastbound on the westbound side of Holt. So this is Holt Avenue, where we were just a couple of minutes ago, making a left turn onto Holt, now in the correct lanes, but picking up speed. That was a close call. You saw him make that left turn very erratically as there was oncoming traffic. Fortunately, he's now on the right side, but now doing about 70 to 80 miles per hour on Holt Street. Going to make another random turn here? No, right through the red light, and continuing eastbound on Holt Avenue. I missed it. Had to be. Yeah, he was there was two cars. There were two cars coming up on that intersection where he made that turn, and it would not surprise me because both of them were preparing to make evasive maneuvers. I didn't see the collision, but certainly I can very easily see that happening, especially when you see a pickup truck coming at you in the middle of nowhere so randomly like that. Anyways, we're now on Indian Hill Boulevard, coming up on Lincoln. He really doesn't appear to have a destination in mind here. He is kind of making this up as he goes along. And the one thing I haven't seen in a couple of minutes here is any sign of that Riverside County Sheriff's deputy. So let's widen out just a second. I don't want to lose it. Ooh, into oncoming lanes again there. And look at this. It just got too dangerous. Those deputies, it looks like they have been forced to pull back a little bit. This pursuit has gotten so dangerous for obvious reasons, as you've been watching for the last few minutes. Now he is basically heading up towards the 10 freeway with no law enforcement behind him here. He's going under the 10 freeway on Indian Hill Boulevard, and it appears that for the time being, he has temporarily lost those sheriff's deputies. Airship still overhead, calling the shots, and that's to the benefit of those deputies on the ground there. They can afford to lose him without putting any additional lives in danger. They can catch up to him once they find an opportunity at the direction of that helicopter. So now you see him on his own here for the first time without anybody pursuing him. Still doing about 80 miles per hour on a very residential street. So even without police behind him, without the lights and sirens blaring, he's continuing to push the pedal to the metal right through this neighborhood. Now on Laverne Avenue, this suspect is very dangerous, and maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me, but I almost feels like I saw some movement coming from that back seat. Behind that tinted window, it almost feels... It could have been a reflection. But it could be a reflection, yeah. There's some shadows in there. Apologies, but you can see there's clearly two people at the very least inside this extended cab pickup truck, and now making another turn onto San Antonio Avenue. So we're basically ending up on some of the same streets that he's been crisscrossing here and kind of repeating the path, which tells me he's either looking for a spot to dump the vehicle or maybe just trying to find a place to hide out. Oh, boy. You coming up on another very busy street, and we'll see if he even attempts to slow down here. But it is really concerning me as he gets into a more populated area here that at this point there is nobody behind him. We now have a helicopter overhead as well, now turning into another residential neighborhood onto Briarcroft Road, slowing down a little bit. But again, nobody in the area to bring him into custody should he actually come to a stop here. Very, very well may try and make a run for it. Who knows? Or he can continue going. We just don't know how much gas is in this truck. But what we do know is that this pursuit is... Yep. Yeah, very scary stuff, guys, especially when you consider just the bit that we've seen in the last half hour or so, the dangerous driving, the erratic maneuvers, and now we find ourselves in a much more populated thoroughfare, Foothill Boulevard through Pomona, which is, he's basically got the road to himself in terms of no law enforcement behind him. There's nobody here to stop him besides the aircraft that are calling out the position from above. You can see he's just kind of weaving his way through the neighborhood, again, back into a residential neighborhood, but basically doing random circles around this general vicinity. We're north of the 10 freeway, south of the 210, and he is now coming up on Town Avenue again. So, again, all of these turns appear to be very last minute, very spontaneous, with no clear destination in sight. All we know, again, is that there are at least two people inside this vehicle, but the driving that we have seen is just so dangerous. And on surface streets like this, at the speeds he's doing, now again in excess of 70 miles per hour, it's just a matter of time before he gets somebody hurt as he continues to blow through all of these intersections, especially the red lights, at a very fast clip and a clear willingness to jump into oncoming lanes of traffic. You saw that collision there. Fortunately, doesn't appear too serious, but again, another random turn right into an alleyway. Have no idea who he is gesturing at this point, with the exception of maybe he is well aware of the aircraft overhead, trying to gesture at us possibly, but he is still throwing his hand out the window. Earlier in the pursuit on the freeway, you saw him throw both hands out the window. Amazingly able to maintain control of the vehicle, but you can see the dangerous driving just continues. Looks like there might be a police officer pulling up behind him a little bit further back. Oh, yeah, one block over, you can see that that Riverside County unit, one block to the north of him. As he traverses that alleyway near the top of your screen, you've got law enforcement one block over, the helicopter keeping a close eye on him, and that Riverside County unit about to make that left turn. That's a southbound turn onto East Street. Now back behind him, following him. While it may not technically be in pursuit, there is a unit further back behind him. We are, by the way, in L.A. County's jurisdiction, and so it'll be interesting at some point to see who else gets involved here. But Riverside County has been on this person's tail for now close to 2 hours after going all the way down to the San Diego County line, back into their own jurisdiction, and now we find ourselves here in Pomona, where Pomona PD is monitoring the pursuit. Again, he is now in another alleyway as that helicopter calls out the shots. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see if they do re-engage here or if they continue to follow from a distance. It'll all be up to that supervisor as to how they proceed here. But because of the dangerous driving, they may decide to avoid antagonizing him, let the temperature cool down a little bit, despite the dangerous driving and a clear willingness to drive like a maniac, despite the fact that earlier he had nobody behind him. We do now have several units following him at the very least. Whether they put this back into pursuit mode, we will see here in the next few seconds. But something tells me we may be nearing the end of this pursuit. Again, maybe wishful thinking on my part, but it certainly looks like he is just kind of, buying time here. At some points, ending up in alleyways. He's going to corner himself, whether he ends up in a dead end unintentionally or what have you. I just have a feeling he may be looking for some place or some way to bring this to an end. But they are certainly in the neighborhood here. They are keeping an eye on him. They're triangulating their position. So as he comes up on that intersection right there, you can see there was another black and white already on that street. They have flooded the zone with Riverside County Sheriff's deputies who are basically approaching him from a number of different directions as he zigzags through this neighborhood. Yeah, they're keeping an eye on him. They're using that helicopter as well as, I believe, a CHP fixed-wing aircraft, both of them following from above, and that is able to, give the officers on the ground the opportunity to stand back, just not apply any more pressure until they decide that it's safe enough to do so. Right now, considering the rush hour, now we don't see a whole lot of traffic on Foothill Boulevard. Pulling into a gas station, though. Pulling into a gas station. I wonder if he thinks he's lost the police or maybe just using this to cut through the parking lot. He's cutting through. He's cutting through the parking lot back on Gary Avenue. So we've done a complete circle, several circles in this Pomona neighborhood, and now ending up back on Gary Avenue, which is the exact street that he exited off of the 60 freeway about an hour ago. He's back on Gary Avenue heading southbound once again. He will eventually have the opportunity to get back on the freeway, and it'll be interesting to see if he decides to take the freeway. If he goes back to where he came from in Riverside County, goes back towards the Inland Empire, he's going to encounter all of that traffic again, and I think he wants to avoid that. That's what I think led him into the Pomona area to begin with. He just had too much traffic in his way on the eastbound side of the 60 freeway. On the west, close call there. Another close call, a wild left turn. Lots of cross traffic there. That car was able to put the brakes on and avoid a collision, but the dangerous driving continuing here, and I just wonder how much longer he can keep this up. Very close. Yeah, I mean, that's not the first close call, and obviously we saw those two other vehicles touching bumpers a little further back there when he was in oncoming lanes of traffic. But the desperation is clearly very evident, and the competency behind the wheel is mediocre at best, although he has been able to continue this for quite some time. Now back in oncoming lanes of traffic, people crossing the street, over the crosswalk, into the southbound lanes, going southbound on the northbound side of Town Avenue, and now on the correct side, once again, over the railroad tracks on Town Avenue, and I think I just saw another black and white that has entered the frame here about 100 yards back. There he is. And the lights and sirens are back on. This is back in hot pursuit mode as he continues to weave through here now on Arrow Highway, making another random right. And he's now going, I think that's going to be, it's going to be westbound on Arrow Highway. Well, excellent point, David. We're not losing daylight yet, but he has the sun in his eyes. And I got to tell you, the haze, the combination of the haze and the sun and the time of day is creating a very tough driving situation. Very, very sunny off his nose. He even made the U-turn there, now going away from the sun. But the driving was very challenging there. It's one of those evenings where if you're driving westbound on any freeway or surface street, it's difficult to see. Anyways, he made that U-turn. He's now going back eastbound on Arrow Highway. You saw about a half a dozen units make the U-turn with him there. They are applying a little more pressure. This is in pursuit mode. They are trying to maintain a safe distance without endangering other motorists. So you can see there are additional units on the opposite side of Arrow Highway. They will all be making a U-turn to proceed and stick with this pursuit. That might be a Pomona police officer right behind him here, and that might be an officer that just happened to be in the area, unless I'm mistaken. He's definitely repeated some moves, and he's traversed some of the same streets, but he hasn't really established a good enough pattern where you can kind of predict what his next move might be. On the contrary, all of these moves, by my estimation, appear to be very ad hoc, very last split-second decisions. Even some of the turns into oncoming lanes of traffic appear to be almost unintentional. He's just desperate to get off of the freeway, especially when he sees the lights and sirens behind him. Now you see he's on Stocker Street. I count about 7 units right behind him, and he's not going terribly fast here. He's still fleeing those officers, but he's not flying by like he was earlier. In fact, what's the speed, Rob? Closer to 40, 50 miles per hour, coming up on another red light, making a right through that red again into oncoming traffic, and now they are going to show some signs of, it certainly looks like they are getting a little more aggressive with him, maintaining a close distance, but, aside from the erratic right there, they are now putting much less distance between them and that pickup truck, which tells me they may be looking for an opportunity either to apply pressure or possibly, if the opportunity presents itself, maybe think about a pit maneuver if he slows down just enough. But right now, it's just too tough and he's just going too fast. Thank you for that. All right, continuing now, another random left turn, this time onto Yorkville neighborhood, and it might be a little bit tighter for him to squeeze through here, but he's thinking twice about that. He's going to come back out and do another parking lot, actually, cutting through this parking lot, and okay, just cutting through the AutoZone parking lot. He's got officers surrounding him now, weaving through. Oh, man, he is really showing. He's just desperate to get away here, right past all of those officers. A number of units coming at him from different angles. Now back onto the opposite side of the street. He's going northbound on the southbound side of Town Avenue. I thought for a second he was maybe going to take the railroad tracks, but he is just going the wrong way, continuing the wrong way. He is intentionally driving the wrong way, and he's encountering much more traffic here as he heads up Town Avenue. There's law enforcement on the northbound side. They're watching him from the opposite side as he continues yet another intersection where he is intentionally sticking with the wrong way. He is going the wrong way on Town Avenue, northbound on the southbound side, with cars heading right in his direction. But he is really amping things up every time he pulls those erratic moves, comes so close to getting people hurt. Fortunately, we have not seen more injuries associated with this pursuit, but now he might be blocked in. He's probably going to jump into a parking lot, onto the sidewalk, coming up on a Foothill Boulevard, another random right here. This person is extremely, extremely dangerous. If you live in Pomona or know somebody who lives in this neighborhood, the Gary Avenue area around Town Avenue, we are seeing very, very dangerous driving on the part of this pursuit suspect who is refusing to give himself up. Again, to recap with you, they have a suspected murder suspect behind the wheel of this pickup truck, also wanted for assault with a deadly weapon, has already rammed into sheriff's deputies further back in Riverside and has caused a collision in Pomona. And now another random U-turn in the middle of Gary Avenue with officers making the U-turn with him. He's got a lot more officers coming face-to-face with him, and they are just going to continue to follow from it. Look at this. It's just so dangerous. So dangerous. And once again, he manages to squeeze himself out of that pickle. You can see the number of officers in this neighborhood trying to put themselves in position to take him into custody if and when this comes to an end soon. But in any event, he is now back on the southbound side of Gary Avenue. And man, he is putting so many lives in danger.
Hour 20 fuel. Hour 20 fuel.
Look at that. More folks getting out of their car to catch a glimpse of this pursuit. The cell phones are out, and everybody in this area is starting to take notice. And you can see he's picking up a lot more speed. The speed limit here can't be more than 45 miles per hour. He's doing well in excess of 60 miles per hour, stepping on the gas pedal as he approaches some of these intersections where he should be stepping on the brake pedal. 70 miles per hour down Gary Avenue. Continuing southbound Gary Avenue at extreme speed, 60 miles per hour here, refusing to pull over with upwards of a dozen black and whites behind him. We have a combination of agencies, but mainly Riverside County Sheriff's Office in pursuit here with the assistance, it looks like, of Pomona PD. We also have a Riverside County helicopter overhead, and a Riverside County helicopter, and I think we still have a CHP fixed-wing aircraft following from up above as well. Yes, 2 aircraft following this pursuit, and you can see he is continuing to make some random turns through the city of Pomona, now on the northbound side of Pine Street, coming up on the railroad tracks. Slowing down as he approaches Santa Fe Street, making a southbound turn onto Santa Fe, and slowing down considerably. Not sure what's going through his mind, but he is definitely slowing down and maybe, perhaps, running out of gas. I have no reason to believe that this pickup truck has been disabled in any other way, but he may be running on fumes. It certainly looks like he's slowing down to a crawl as he continues down Gary Avenue for about the 5th or 6th time in this pursuit, and you can see those units slowing down with him. Coming up on the left side, it would not surprise me if they give the go-ahead for a pit maneuver. I think they can handle it. Cool. Once again, gesturing out the driver's side window. He's got his one hand on the wheel, another hand out the driver's side window, and a female passenger in the passenger seat. It almost looks like he might be puffing on something as he slows down here, but still enough gas to continue the pursuit here. Still southbound on Gary Avenue, just past Ford Avenue, at a much slower clip than we've seen. And one has to wonder just how he plans on ending this, but it is just so dangerous. Yeah, it's one or the other, because I can see no other reason as to why this vehicle would be disabled. So he's either running on fumes, maybe trying to conserve fuel, or maybe, as you mentioned, maybe taking on a little bit of a new posture as the adrenaline comes down a little bit. Still, though, the pressure is on. You can see there are a number of units, more than 10 or 15 units right behind him here. An incredible amount of law enforcement in this pursuit, several agencies involved, and they will stop at nothing at this point to get this guy off the road. The goal, though, the name of the game, is to bring it to an end as safely as possible. But while we were recording those promos, David, he jumped onto the sidewalk, was on the wrong side of the street for an extended period of time. Even when he had the opportunity to get on the right side of the road, he intentionally was continuing northbound on the southbound side at points and continuing to cut through a number of parking lots at a very, very dangerous clip. So the speeds have come down a little bit, but the driving has been very, very dangerous.
But if he continues on like this, going at 25 to 35 miles per hour, it does open the door for a potential pit maneuver. Oh, yeah, we're going to show you some video on the right-hand side. This is what you're talking about there. Right onto the sidewalk, just like that. I mean, this guy looks like he is willing to do just about anything. And, yeah, extremely dangerous driving. Just one of many examples that we have seen throughout the afternoon. And also, when he slowed way down, Chris, and you pushed in on him, it looked like a lot of activity going on inside the cab of that truck, both with he and his passenger really moving around a lot. I don't know what they were doing, but they were active, that's for sure.
It looks like he's smoking on something. He was gesturing out the window once again. Haven't gotten a real clear view of that passenger seat. He's picking up a little more speed, and maybe, I think, something coming out the window once again there. In any event, as you mentioned, David, the possibility of a pit maneuver is a very live possibility, in my opinion, if he slows down a little bit. It's a large Toyota pickup truck, but those are large Chevy Suburbans that are in pursuit of that pickup truck. I think they can overpower the bed of that pickup truck and complete the fishtail if they execute that pit maneuver. If the watch commander gives the go-ahead and they find a patch of roadway where there's nobody else in danger, they may very well give the go-ahead for that pit maneuver. In the meantime, you can see the passenger. It looks like she has put on a red hoodie and is now, well, again, we don't know, quite frankly, whether she's a willing participant or whether she is here against her will. In any event, we know of the driver and the passenger, and we just don't know if there's anybody else behind those tinted windows. A lot more paper or something coming out of the driver's side. Did not appear to be money. It looked like there was something else, a packet of leaflets coming out of the driver's side window as he heads towards Holt Avenue, coming up, or he's on Holt Avenue, just past Town Avenue, slowing down once again. But this has been at least the third or fourth time, David, we've seen debris coming out of that window.
Yeah, he's been throwing stuff all afternoon. And by the way, if you're watching this online, you could also watch it on the ABC7 Los Angeles streaming app. You can find us there. So he's pulling into, I guess this is a parking lot, right? Boy.
Yeah, my heart skips a beat every time he does this. This is another parking lot where there are lots of people. It's a packed parking lot at a 99-cent store, coming right up to the entrance of the store and now coming around here, probably just looking to cut through. But you can't overemphasize the extreme danger. Look at this head-to-head with these law enforcement officers. He's surrounded by law enforcement. They are not going to box him in, but they are going to do everything they can to keep up with him. He is not going to get away. It's very clear that he is just there's way too much backup for this suspect to get away.
And
it's just a matter of time before this comes to an end. You just wonder, how desperate is he? Is he going to end in a crash, or is he going to give up peacefully?
Yeah.
I can't see it any other way.
Yeah, he's such a dangerous suspect, being a murder suspect and also assault with a deadly weapon suspect. Boy, that is the same corner, isn't it? That's really a lot of folks are gathering there. Okay, he's going to try to squeeze down this little alley here.
Another tight alley, yep.
Yeah.
It strikes me, David, how we have just seen a real shift in recent years. The number of people who are joining us online and then deciding to use their cell phones and post on social media, and they look for an opportunity to not necessarily get involved in the pursuit, but where they should be staying inside. We see way too many people trying to find the pursuit and crowd the sidewalks and try and catch a glimpse of this spectacular event. It's something you don't see every day until it comes through your neighborhood, but you can't overemphasize how dangerous it is to come outside when there is a dangerous driver like this flying through your neighborhood. It's very risky business, and all of those law enforcement officers are just trying to keep the public safe. But with a driver like this, all bets are off.
Right. And look, there's so many people out there watching. He's been in this neighborhood, though, for quite some time now. I don't know exactly how long, but I would estimate maybe an hour or so.
About an hour.
Yeah, and so the word is out. He is there. He's just meandering through every street repeatedly. Is this the same parking lot he was just in?
Same parking lot. He could have just continued to continue the pursuit, but instead he's intentionally. He is playing Russian roulette with everybody who is walking through this parking lot.
Yeah.
It is absolutely a dangerous game of cat and mouse in a crowded shopping center parking lot, as he is not trying to cut through. Instead, he's trying to weave through the maze of cars now coming through a gas station with no intent on stopping here. He's just cutting through, but it is just you just can't.
There's
wrap
a woman
your
right
head
in the middle
around.
of the
look at that! Right into the front of that semi-tractor trailer. Took his eyes off the road. The airbags have been deployed, and now this pursuit apparently coming to a dramatic crash ending in San Antonio Avenue here in Pomona. You could see those law enforcement officers with their guns drawn now. That semi-tractor trailer trying to get out of the way. Whether he gets out of the way or tries to block the suspect in, we'll see here. That truck is not going anywhere. You see somebody's feet coming out of the passenger side. Clearly, those airbags have been deployed, and those are known to instantly cause injury in many cases. Those come at you at very extreme speeds. The driver of the tractor trailer exiting the vehicle, and they are now going to execute this felony stop after that crash ending here on San Antonio Avenue.
Did you notice a canine unit? I think that dog was so aggressive. He was ready to jump in there almost immediately. He pulled his officer out in front. But, boy, look at this. This is quite the sight. I don't know if I've seen this many law enforcement vehicles at the end of a pursuit. I mean, within seconds. This is incredible. I was looking at that woman who was shooting this on her cell phone right in the middle of the street, and immediately from that site to this, he hit that big 18-wheeler, and thank goodness it was a giant vehicle because of his large pickup truck. If it was a small vehicle, others could have really gotten hurt.
Yeah, the driver... If that driver is conscious right now, he has to think very, very carefully about his next move, because Riverside County Sheriff's Department does not fool around. The passenger, it looks like, is willing to give herself up. She has had enough and is now putting both hands under the airbags, out the window. They're going to instruct her to come out of the vehicle at some point, but the focus is on the driver. And he is now at gunpoint from a number of different directions without any crossfire in the way here. So we can only hope that he gives himself up peacefully. Are out the window, but he's not showing them. That airbag might be in his way. As you could tell, we're bringing Air 7 HD around to the driver's side of this pickup truck, and we'll be able to get a better glimpse of what's happening inside that driver's seat. But you can see that the airbag is blocking the window. I saw for a split second a hand come around, and we'll see how he proceeds here.
Chris, real quickly for our viewers who are watching this online, we are now about to go live on KDOC TV. Our usual 7 o'clock newscast, KDOC TV, is going to start in 15 seconds from right now. We hope you join us, and we're going to immediately jump on this coverage, but we will continue digitally as well. But this is seriously coming down to a dramatic ending. You can see his face. Stand by, everybody.
This is Eyewitness News on K. This is Eyewitness News on K.
Out of the vehicle with his hands visible, the passenger also with her hands out the passenger side.
Okay. Copy.
That's right. This is the end that we were looking for. So many other dangerous situations, so many other lives put in danger by the suspect of this pursuit went on at upwards of 90 miles an hour on surface streets, just weaving its way through different residential areas and commercial areas. And it looks like the suspect now making a fast approach towards those officers. Holding their tasers, the less than lethals, trained on that suspect now and making that approach to take that suspect into custody. It looks like that suspect may have some issue walking. So that's why they were crawling, but now the deputies have taken that driver into custody, and now it's a question of this passenger as well. You can see their arms out of the passenger side of this truck. The suspects wanted for possible murder out of Riverside County. Riverside County holding the primary agency spot in this pursuit for nearly 2 hours, letting up for Pomona PD to assist towards the end in their territory. And we saw this successful termination of the pursuit. What better way, like you said, Micah and Cher, to end a pursuit in a safe manner in a crash than into a semi, as that driver of the semi was able to move that vehicle forward to a more safe spot that would box in that vehicle, and then walk away from that truck over to safety of some other deputies. In all cases of pursuit crashes that we see, Micah and Cher, this one is definitely one that it was on the safer side, and now we are just in the waiting game of seeing that passenger open their door now and try to make their way out of the vehicle. Looks like it's a little bit tough for them as well, but that door is open. But just look at the damage to the front of that truck there. Just that engine compartment smashed in, those airbags deployed. So that takes a lot of a toll on a individual. If you've ever been in a crash, you know that even the smallest crashes can hurt. So something like this into a semi definitely could cause some pain. But it looks like this passenger, we have at least 1 foot outside of the vehicle right now, and we'll have to see what happens. Both feet out, passenger standing up, luckily able to walk. Pull out to a little bit wider of shot. Don't want to show anything that's not rated for air, but the suspect pulling up their pants now facing the officers, and they're going to ask that suspect to face away and walk back slowly to those deputies. Moving a little fast right now, but that may be out of request from the deputies now. And still keep their back to those deputies. Move over to the right, as you see there, and then they're going to make their way back to those deputies, and that arrest team will take this passenger into custody here on San Antonio Avenue here in Pomona. But nearly a 2-hour-long pursuit, very high rates of speed, weaving its way through the Southland, both on freeways and definitely on surface streets here in Pomona, Laverne, and Claremont, coming to an end here very peacefully and without major injury for the most part, other than possibly that suspect was unable to walk when they got out. But now we're just going to wait and see for them to clear the vehicle. They're going to talk to those suspects, see if there's anyone possibly else in the vehicle, and then we'll see an approach team approach that vehicle and clear that vehicle of any other possible harmful things or people that may be in it. But a very successful end to a pursuit here in Pomona. I'm going to send it down to you, Mike and Cher. Okay. Thanks, Craig.